Hi, my name's Jayne Poole. I'm a photographer in Torrington. I have a studio in town. I specialise in family portraits, and so I do lots of little children, newborn sessions, family groups, that kind of thing. I also do a school and nursery service as well. I've been a photographer for 20 years and I've had my studio in Torrington for about 15 of those. I've been asked by GTS to answer some questions to hopefully help you guys when you're trying to make a choice on your career. So hopefully I can give you a little bit of an insight in what it's like to do my job. So the first question I've been asked is, what do you like about your work? Okay, so my job is pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. I do love my work. There are times when it is hard, but most of the time it's great. I mean, the variety of it is what I like. So I could be one day, photographing little newborns, and then the next day photographing puppies. I get all kinds of stuff to do. I do a little bit of commercial work, and that's quite fun. So you can never know sort of what you're going to be doing from one day to the next with that. I had to photograph a unicorn covered in shells one day, so that's a bit random. So yeah, all kinds of stuff that I get asked to do, and no day is really sort of ever the same. I could have a full day of photographing newborns, and that would be different depending on the baby that comes in. Then I could have a kind of family session in, so you never quite know what you're going to get, and that's what makes it fun. The one thing I really would say that I love is once I've produced the images and I've sent them to the client to view, and getting those comments back on how much they love them and that kind of thing is really the most satisfying thing about my job, I'd say. So yeah, that always feels really good. And also knowing that your work is kind of going to be on people's walls and in their albums and around their house for ever, really. That's quite amazing to think that you're documenting a time in someone's life or a family's life that is really special to them, and you're part of that, and that's an amazing feeling, really. That's I'd say probably the best thing about my job, and what I enjoy most of all about it is knowing that I'm creating something for someone, and kind of capturing those times that they're never going to get back again, really. So the next question was, how did you get started? Okay, so that is quite a long story, so I'll try and cut that a little bit short. So I basically ended up kind of living by myself with my young daughter before she was school age, and I decided I'd done lots of jobs, kind of waitressing, working in a local shop, that kind of thing. And I really wanted to do something that I loved doing, and I wasn't really trained in very much, so I kind of decided that I was going to use the time when my daughter was young to sort of go back to college, really, or back to school, and learn something that I could then use when she was old enough to go to school and I could work. So I went to the local arts centre in Bideford, and I went through the prospectus, and photography came up. So, and I'd always loved taking pictures, not professionally ever, just with just for fun. And I thought, I'm going to have a go at that. See how I get on. So I signed up for GCSE, and I didn't even have a proper camera on the first day. So I turned up, and everyone else had turned up massive gear, and I literally had this tiny little compact camera. But everyone was really helpful, and they were great. Because at the time I was living on benefits and I didn't have a lot of money, so people were brilliant, and they really helped me and lent me stuff so that I could get started on the course, and I absolutely loved it. And I went on to do an A-level, and then I went on to do a degree course as well. And it was the best thing ever, being with people that enjoyed what I was into, and it was great. So once I'd done all my courses, the guy that taught me put my name forward to actually teach at the college. So for a while I taught GCSE photography, and alongside that I also did a teaching qualification to teach adults, so that was really cool. So then my second daughter arrived, and I sort of had to give up the teaching side, because obviously when you're doing a GCSE course you kind of have to be consistent, so couldn't take time off for sort of small babies. So I decided that I was going to set up my own photography business. So at that point I literally had a garage and I was given some lighting, and I decided to set up a portrait business in my garage. And I was definitely not going to do weddings, so I just started off advertising for portraits. And I did get a few people that came. I was terrible back then, I don't even want to look at any of the pictures I took, but everyone has to start somewhere. So I was never going to do weddings, said I wasn't going to do weddings, and then somebody contacted me and asked me if I'd do a wedding, and I had no experience whatsoever and I had no portfolio. So I went to a friend's wedding and kind of shadowed the photographer, probably drove him mad, and managed to create a portfolio which I showed this client. And from that wedding that I did, the bookings just flooded in, and I ended up that I was doing literally like 40 plus weddings a year, and kind of had a huge business locally, and also we were travelling kind of around the country as well, and definitely the county, shooting weddings, and we were kind of sought after, so it was really pretty cool to go from nothing to that. It did take a few years to get there, but a lot of it was just down to sheer hard work and determination, that I believed in myself and knew I could do it. So yeah, I built up that kind of reputation from there, and then I joined the British Institute of Professional Photography, and I became a qualified member. So I'm now a licentiate of the British Institute, and I won an award in 2006, which was Cosmopolitan Magazine Wedding Photographer of the Year. And from winning that award, that was a national award, the wedding bookings just flooded in, and I was charging a lot more, and it was amazing at the time. But after a few years, I found that the pressure of doing that kind of work really got to me, so I found it really hard. So I started to scale back a little bit on the weddings and concentrate more on the portrait side of things. And now I've kind of geared more towards newborn sessions, which I really love doing. I really like the studio work, because it means that I don't have to go out, and I'm not out every weekend, and I'm not slaving away from morning till night at weddings and that kind of thing. And I wanted to have a little bit more time with my family as well. So I've kind of steered away from the wedding side of it, but at the time it was great. But I think it's kind of a short window, really. I literally started with nothing and ended up with, I bought my studio, as I say, 15 years ago, and I bought that outright, so there's no mortgage on that, so that's pretty cool. I'm quite proud of that. And I've kind of built up from literally nothing to get where I am, so I'm sort of pretty proud of that. But it is a lot of hard work, and it doesn't come easily. You have to really put the hours in to get to where you are. But it does pay off, definitely. And the last question is, what would I say to somebody who's looking to start out today? Right, okay. I would say that you have to put the work in. So it's not just going to happen overnight. You need to do a lot of stuff almost for free, and kind of just, help for other people just to get your portfolio up there and find your style. There's so many photographers out there doing the kind of job I do, so you really need to sort of find your style and what makes you different from everybody else, and why people would book you, and that takes a while to develop that, so you really don't want to be kind of rushing that. I would say find your niche, because obviously what I do, there's so many other photography styles that you could go into. I mean, that you might want to be like a a press photographer or travel photographer, that kind of thing, or fashion photographer. So there's loads of different kind of genres you could go into, but whatever you decide to do, you've got to put in the research and put in the miles first before you kind of reap the benefits, really. It does take a lot of work. So I would say be prepared for that, and be prepared that you're not going to like be making loads of money for a good few years. But when you do establish yourself, it is worthwhile, and the satisfaction of doing this job makes it worthwhile, definitely. So hopefully that's helped you. And I hopefully haven't bored you to death. Thanks very much for listening. Bye.